What if every time time travel is used to fix the future, it only creates an alternate timeline? And the more times you travel through time, the more lines of times get twisted. What if Terminators traveled through time to terminate the Connor family tree too many times, and they have trouble determining what terminating truly takes? I think that's what takes place in this time tinkering Terminator.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Our Rating, the show where I get together with two of my friends. We take a movie franchise, break it down by a movie, give it an overall score, and throw it back up on the board to see where it lands compared to the other movie franchises. For the first time in a few weeks, we are joined by Brian and Will. Will, how are you doing? How was your vacation?
Vacation was fantastic. We got to see a lot of family. We got to go to a lot of new places. My son just loved every day. He's like, this was the best day of my life. And he was so sad that we had to leave one part of Switzerland and then go. Once he got to another part, though, he loved that just as much. So it was great trip. But I'm super excited to be back here with y'all rating some movies.
I'm super happy to have you back. Of course, we had clippets of you from the last couple episodes, but it's not quite the same as having you in the room. Brian, how are you doing this week?
Had a shit week, to be honest.
No trips to Switzerland. No,
nothing great going on here. I started watching a show that's been around for a long time. I didn't know anything about it, called Letterkenny. I'm finding it hilarious. Will's intro actually reminded me of that show a lot because they do a lot of those titular audio fun little skits like that. So it's a good show. I've been watching that, but honestly, my IRL life has not been a great week for me.
I mean, that checks out. Letterkenny is filmed in Canada. I'm sure Will's at least seen it, if not a fan. I think it's actually filmed like 2 hours from me, if I have that down right. But haven't checked it out all that much. Seen a little pieces here and there, but lots of clips. Very familiar with it. I haven't had a bad week. I had a very busy week, but not a bad one. Been totally fine. Just doing a ton of work, whatnot. I think you've heard me talk about, trying to sell the house and whatnot. It's not going well, and it sounds like the house we were looking to get might have sold out from under us. So we're actually debating just taking our house off the market instead of trying to sell it for less and less and less. And we still like this house. We were just hoping to get the bigger one. But there's nothing really wrong with this one. So we'll probably just stay here, build up some more equity in it, maybe fix up a couple more things. So the next time we see something big down the road, we can jump on that. It's not guaranteed that we lost the house. It's just looking bad for us. So that's kind of where we're at today. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about the greatest movie in the Terminator franchise, Terminator Genisys. This is number 5. Will, is this your first time watching this one?
It is, yes. It was my first time watching Salvation. It was the first time watching this movie. I'm excited to end this franchise. I mean, it's just, you know what? 6 movies is always a lot for a franchise. So, I'm excited to move on to something else. But I did enjoy watching this movie for the pure fact that I had never seen it. I really didn't know anything about it. And I didn't actually know about, the trailer spoiling the movie, which was a huge deal at the time. So I went without knowing that, which was great. Was it a great movie? We'll find out soon.
I think we just did. Brian, what about you? Is this your first time seeing this one?
This is my second time watching the film. I had no reason to go back to this one except for our rating reviewing it. And I gotta say, I did have some fun rewatching it. Though I'm kind of with you guys. This franchise has been going on pretty long, and it's really... I think the trouble I have with this franchise is that there are so many, good ideas and maybe good starts, but they just can't seem to make it work. Or, in Salvation, we had the start of a trilogy that got canceled. Genisys was supposed to have some continuation plot lines. That's not going to happen. There's just stuff happening in these films that they're building out, and then they don't get the opportunity to follow through because while thinking ahead, they're not thinking of what they're doing right now, and it's kind of putting out garbage. So lots of frustration with this one. Will, you mentioned that the trailer spoiled this. I don't remember that being a thing. What can you elaborate on what the trailer did?
I was going to ask the same thing.
Yeah, apparently the big trailer spoiler is that you see that John Connor is a robot in the movie. And that was actually in the trailer where Arnie shoots him. He goes down and then picks himself back up. And everybody was like, what? Why would you show that in the trailer? What are you doing? Just like when they showed Arnie being the good guy in the Terminator 2, you know?
It's exactly what I was going to reference. They can't help themselves. Things up.
Exactly.
I wonder if it's because they can't, like, like he's the only villain in the movie. Like, who else do you show?
Is he?
You know what I mean? Like,
there's a lot of villains in this movie.
You got a T-1000 in there.
Yeah, you got a naked Arnie.
Hey, you know what? We forgot to mention, I want to kind of run back to Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. Sure. Arnold does not play a T-800. He plays a T-850, which is an upgraded version of the T-800. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was kind of interesting. We glossed over that. I was just doing some research for this one and found out that he was there was actually an instance where he was a T-850. And then, of course, in this one, at the end, he comes back as a liquid metal version of himself. A T-1000 gets an upgrade, I guess. And
yeah, he's more like a TX at that point.
Yeah, I guess. I'm kind of curious. Does he retain some of his skeleton, or did he
We'll never know, right? Brian, and I'm okay with that.
Also, if the T-1000 requires the chip to run it, how come the T-1000 in Terminator 2 was purely liquid and there was no chip to be found there? So I don't.
The only thing I can say to that is this movie takes place in 2015 or 2017, I think. And
depending
that
on
monster comes from 2029. Maybe technology just got better in those 12 years.
One of about 8,000 plot holes in this movie, or unexplained things that maybe they were going to explain in the sequel after this, but they didn't get the opportunity to do. Okay. Name your worst plot hole in this film, guys. Let's hear. Dan, what do you got?
Dan,
I don't know if it's a plot hole specifically or just something I legitimately hate. Is the idea that, like, because we've seen a lot of time travel movies where, you know, you go to the past, you change something, you go back to the future. In this one, apparently that changes your memories all the way along. But not because only like certain periods of time you all of a sudden remember now. I'm just like,
the ones you need.
Yeah, right. Just the really important one. Didn't remember anything else, but that one time I talked to myself in the mirror. Let's hold on to that memory. That really, really annoyed me. There were a lot of things in this movie that I was like writing down because I'm just like, oh, there's just holes everywhere. They actually did explain most of them, not necessarily in a satisfactory way, not in a way that I enjoyed, but at least they did try and touch on them. Right. So it's kind of like, okay, they attempted.
They circled back to Kyle Reese giving himself the information to give himself through a fucking dream, which has never occurred in the entire franchise before. Why is he having visions and dreams and stuff? And the Terminator tries to explain it with a whole bunch of buzzwords that weren't even buzzing enough to, like, I'm like, that's not what you're talking about. This is dumb. It upset me a lot, that whole dream stuff. I didn't like that one bit.
They were memories, Brian.
Memories. Okay, yeah. Memories of an alternate timeline that he wasn't part of. How's that work?
Because, like in Ghostbusters, you never cross the streams, and that's what happens when you cross the streams. Okay.
I guess so.
Different streams, but sure.
Exactly. Dan, was this your first time watching the movie?
Thank you for that. No, it was not. I, like Brian, had seen this one before, and while I'll just say I had a better time this time watching it than I did the first time.
Okay.
I did not get to watch this one in the watch party. I think Brian did, so that might have helped his
definitely
overall enjoyment of it. I didn't get to partake in that. Unfortunately, I think I stopped in for like 5 minutes near the end, and I was like, I don't want to ruin this for myself because I didn't remember anything about this. I remembered Arnold was back. I knew he was old, and I knew that Khaleesi was in it, and that was all I had from this film. I don't know. there's a lot of plot holes and silliness and whatnot, and I don't necessarily want to just have an hour of just ripping on this film, but also there's not a whole lot of positives to say. It wasn't unwatchable. It just wasn't really good. It wasn't. It wasn't good.
May I ask a question of each of you?
100%.
Either of you can answer. What is this movie about?
That was going to be my next question. I was hoping you guys could explain how this time looping stuff goes. Like at some point I was like, either this plot is so complex I don't understand it, or my subconscious is not allowing me to understand it because it's so stupid. And I just wasn't sure which was taking place here.
So this is the movie, like way back in Terminator 1, I mentioned that like one of my biggest issues with the franchise in general is I wish they'd specified like we can only go back 30 years. So
exactly.
or whatever the time it is. So it goes from 1929 to 1984, and then the next one is 2032 to 1991, or however the timeline's going to work, but it's always going forward to backwards, and that's how it's going to make sense.
Now we're all
the fact that in this movie they're like, oh, well, we actually went back to 1984, but we also went back to 1976, and we also went back to 1997. Like, it just got so convoluted and messy, and the only reason I can imagine that they did any of that is so they had a reason for Arnold Schwarzenegger to be old. Yeah. That's the only reason that makes sense. You had to send Arnold Schwarzenegger back in 1976 and then age naturally over time to get to where they're going. Now, I will say that, like I've said this many, many times, if a movie gives you a premise, I'll go with it, even if it doesn't make any sense. But this one stretched that really hard with the whole time traveling. We can't send metal back, but we can send metal inside of a bag of flesh back. Yeah, where it's like it just works less and less and less. In the first movie, even in the second one, you just kind of go, okay, fair enough. They're not allowed to bring guns, and this is their way around bringing futuristic tech to the past. So be it. But in this one, where Arnold is hurt, he's like, oh, I can't go through there. I'll get ripped apart. I'm just like, okay, so if a fleshy membrane over metal can send anything back, and we know that they're capturing humans, can we just make something that goes over like a transport truck and just fill it with Terminators and send that back into the past? Like,
they could
where
just
does the skin level end?
They could just sew a giant skin blanket and just put it over everything.
Right.
That would be great.
Right. And you're definitely going to clip that for the shorts, Dan. My thing is the T-1000 is liquid metal. How is that going through? They never stop to explain that one. Kind of drives me nuts there too. And then there is the reason Arnold Schwarzenegger, aside from appearing old, goes back to 74 or whenever. Sarah Connor as a little girl.
Yeah.
The reason he was sent back was erased from his memory, so we don't get to know. Now, the reason for that was because there was supposed to be a sequel to this where it gets explained to us. That got canceled because this movie blows. And so we're never going to know the answer to that. And spoiler, in the next movie, they didn't like this movie. so we're never going to know. And go ahead.
No, I said I didn't want to rip on this movie. All I have is rips.
I've got some good things to talk about in this film for sure, but let's stick with what we got right now.
Well, okay.
So you've got a sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
you've got a Terminator who went back in the past and is now waiting for things to happen, and yet is late to every single thing that happens, and is criminally unprepared despite knowing what's about to happen. Like we've got Terminator coming, or Arnold's coming back to 1970 something, getting ready to wait for Arnold coming back in 1984, knows exactly where he's going to be, isn't there when he shows up, and he brings a shotgun. Why doesn't he bring a rocket launcher and just wait in the exact coordinates?
The idea was that he was supposed to hold the Terminator still while she shoots the round through his battery pack or whatever.
Why do that?
She doesn't.
From the
he doesn't know she's there. Just shoot her
to make the scene interesting and exciting. But he comes out, he's like, I've been waiting for you, and then proceeds to get his ass kicked. I'm like, no, you weren't waiting for him.
Exactly.
Let me ask you this. Well, here, first off, nobody knows what this movie's about, obviously, because nobody could answer. I think what this movie is about is stopping Skynet, which is now called Genisys, but that only happens in like the last 40 minutes of the movie. Everything before that is all like information dump and catch up and, hey, look, we can film Terminator 1 shot for shot. There's just nothing of intrigue in like the first half of this movie or more to me, including, again, like you said, Arnie comes in and he's late, and that's a catastrophe. But the movie starting there would have been more interesting than, oh, look, it's John and Kyle, and they're stopping the war. But we already know all that information, and they don't really go into depth of their relationship that much. They more just talk about what they're going to tell Sarah Connor. It's all stuff we already know from 3 or 4 movies. So why is it even there? Sure, that one fight looked kind of cool with like the flying ships and the dropping of the gunners, and that was neat, but it wasn't necessary. If they would have started with naked Arnie dropping in and you're like, wait, we've seen this before, and then Arnie comes out of the darkness and just blows that guy away, that would be an intro to the movie, in my mind.
He still needs to blow him away, though. If you're going to be waiting for him, you need to be prepared for him, not just there.
That was horrible. Why they're so unprepared is ludicrous.
I don't disagree with anything you just said, but I will fight back a little bit because the opening fight scene in the future, I didn't hate at all. And like, obviously we're in.
No, I didn't either.
We're in on the whole Kyle Reese and why he's important and why John's like looking to him to send him forward. I would have cut the scene before the Terminator attacks John Connor. And then when we see John Connor in the present,
it's actually a surprise.
It's actually like, oh shit, what's he doing here? As opposed to, oh, that's a robot. Now you're saying that was ruined in the marketing anyways. I didn't know that. So it wasn't ruined in the marketing. It was just ruined in poor storytelling.
Agreed.
Yeah. And here's the things that I do like about this film. Almost every single action sequence was cool to watch. Lots and lots of CGI in this one. It was top-notch CGI, though. They didn't even try for practical effects, which lose points for that. But they wanted to just have a special effects bonanza, a thrill ride, lots and lots of fast-paced action, scene after scene after scene, which I think is why none of this really makes sense. They basically, a bunch of writers sat around and said, what kind of Terminator shit would look cool in a movie? And then they just figured out ways to make all that stuff in this movie happen. I mean, one of my favorite scenes was Arnold holding that T-1000 in under the acid as it thrashes around and melts. That was a cool way to kill it. It looked great. It looked really neat. I don't know why Arnold's arm held up so well when the liquid metal didn't, but whatever, maybe, I don't know, polymers or something. But it was a cool scene to watch, right? The old Arnold versus the younger CGI Arnold was pretty cool to watch. I enjoyed that, even though I was like right out of the gates, like, come on, you should have been a little better prepared for that, whatever. There were so many fun sequences to watch. I just hated how they tied it all together.
I am going to disagree with a good chunk of what you just said. I think a lot of the action sequences weren't necessarily poorly recorded, but just the logic behind a lot of them really bothered me, where I'm just like, why am I watching this? For instance, Arnold versus Arnold at the beginning. It wasn't necessarily poorly made. My brain just could not get past the fact, like, why are you waiting prepared for this guy and not even remotely prepared for this guy? If you'd done something like have a rocket launcher, you blow him away, but he doesn't die, but it blows off most of his skin. Now you don't have to render a younger Arnold. You can have Arnold versus a T-800 exoskeleton. It looks cooler. You can kind of go like, okay, he thought a rocket would take him out. I get that. There's no chance Arnold thought a shotgun was going to do anything against this guy. Yeah. And that just looks cooler. I will give you the acid bath was a pretty cool scene. Again, I had issues with like, why is Arnold surviving this? His arm does get damaged. The skin melts off. And his arm is kind of doing funky things for the rest of the movie. Pretty much every scene with John Connor in it didn't do a ton for me as far as action scenes go. Again, not that it necessarily looked bad. I just didn't.
Oh, no.
He just isn't an imposing figure.
Human specimen to look at, as is the Sarah Connor they chose. And I think that's why they chose them. I didn't approve of their acting. Their dialogue was terrible. The script for them was terrible. Her romantic reactions to him were so completely fake to me and completely wrong, but they're beautiful. And when they're all floating in their little CGI time bubble, all naked and wrapped up, I was like, that's hot. That's friggin' hot right there.
I'll give you all of that, except I'm talking about John Connor.
Yeah, John Connor's a hot-looking dude.
That's Kyle Reese.
No, you're talking
about Kyle Reese.
Oh, Kyle
John
Reese.
Connor's
You're talking
the
about
Terminator.
John Connor. Right, John Connor is the Terminator. Yeah, sorry.
I didn't care as my friend. You're not wrong. Those are two beautiful young people.
Yeah.
But the scenes with the liquid metal or whatever he is, John Connor,
nanotech,
I think, yeah.
When he's under the bus was like relatively cool, and he takes out the brake system. But then when he pulls the pipe down, I don't know how fast that bus is going, but it does like 9 flips in the air.
Yeah, that driveline would have crumbled. It wouldn't have flipped like that, but it did look really cool, right?
I'm pretty sure that was the only practical effect in the movie, actually, is when that bus flips.
Yeah, but they use explosives to blow it up in the air. They didn't really use the driveline.
I can't imagine that pipe doing that. Even if it did, Emilia Clarke is in a seatbelt. I still think she's super dead.
And so
but whatever. No, he's not. He's just loose in the back.
Yeah, he's bouncing around.
He's like liquid by the time that thing stops moving.
Around like gummy bears back there.
Oh, it was just one of those like you're dead, and then it kept rolling like it's super dead, and then he's just like, oh, I'm kind of dazed. And, I woke up. It's like, oh, just a lot of the action scenes were so far gone for me that it was so far beyond the point of believable. I know we're talking about a sci-fi movie with alien robots. I get that.
Yeah,
but you still have to have some level of stakes.
They're not alien robots, but that's fine.
Sure.
For me, I lean closer to Dan. I didn't think the action scenes were all that spectacular. I think the CGI was pretty well done, but you still get weightlessness and things like that. Those issues are still there. But for me, it's the repetition and the lack of progressing the story with the action scenes for me. We have this team of misfits arrested in this movie like 3 different times. They are chased like 3 different times, but it all leads to the same place every time. Like nothing really happens except for, they info dump after the action sequence happens. So to me, it's just like the same thing happening over and over again is so monotonous. It doesn't matter that once they're getting chased by the T-1000 getaway because Arnie saves the day. And once they're getting chased by John Connor on a bus and they get away because Arnie saves the day. And then once they're at the Genisys warehouse, Arnie saves the day, they get away. That's the problem. It's the exact same outcome. It's nothing moves the needle in these action scenes. It doesn't matter how spectacular they are if there's no reason for them to happen. That's my problem. And that's to Brian's point of being like, it didn't move anywhere. It didn't go anywhere. And even in between didn't really give us a lot because the plot is so convoluted that they don't even know what they're talking about half the time or won't write the reason that they're doing the things they're doing. Yeah. Which is just all spectacle.
It's all spectacle and no meat to this. Yeah. I really didn't like how they downgraded Sarah and Kyle. Sarah's kind of badass, but she's not the Sarah Connor I wanted to see. Like she's not Sarah Connor T2, right? No. She's just a really good looking young Sarah Connor who can take care of herself now a little bit, but she's also kind of
like Arnie saves her most of the time.
Yeah, she's like, I could take care of myself, except Pops is doing all the work, and she's always complaining that her life is not her own, but she's obviously just absolutely marinating in her panties for Kyle Reese. Like it's just kind of dumb. And then Kyle Reese, what the hell does he do other than pass along a message that Genisys is Skynet? Like, that's literally all he did.
Yeah, no, he has no reason in this film because they take it away from him.
They make him look like a dolt.
Yeah.
Sarah Connor is more of a badass than she was in Terminator 1, but significantly less of a badass than she was in Terminator 2, even though the amount of time that she's known there's Terminators in the world is roughly the same. Now, granted, she was a small child in the first one, but like she trains hard between Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. Yeah. And this one, she's just kind of aware of them between the past and the 1984. I'll give you all the points that, yes, Emilia Clarke is very gorgeous, but I don't ever get the impression that she's tough in this.
No,
film.
I don't either.
Part of that is she's like 5'2". She just doesn't come across, and they dress her with she doesn't look dangerous. She's got like a sloppy ponytail. It's not slick back, like badass, geared out.
Now
she just kind of looks cute. And
maybe the difference,
what's going on?
Maybe the difference is Sarah Connor between Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 doesn't have an Arnold to rely on. She's got to rely on herself. Whereas this Sarah Connor, A, starts as a child, and B, does have an Arnold to do all the heavy lifting for her. so she never really has to struggle or try.
I also give you that she doesn't have the same trauma, right? That Sarah Connor in Terminator 2 has.
Well, her parents are killed directly in front of her.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, I don't know exactly what happens because they never.
Yeah, we don't really see that scene, but like theoretically, that's what happens.
She also doesn't have to question her own sanity. She is living with a Terminator and knows that is true. Whereas in Terminator 2, Sarah's been told that she's a nut job and everything's been hidden from her, and she's been labeled crazy, and she's probably dealing with that as well.
Do you ever get the impression that she believes them, though? I don't ever get the impression she's low on her convictions.
No,
I feel like
I don't think
she's
so.
Very...
But she's haunted by dreams of the world ending in fire.
Yeah,
true, for sure. But I don't think that she ever believes those aren't real.
No,
right?
No,
like I think she's very like, this happened. This is a thing.
But I think that isolation and just the loneliness and all, you just feel all of these things from her character when she presents it in T2 that you're like, oh yeah, I can totally get behind this character and why she does the thing she does.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this movie, I just don't understand why they're always late. I don't understand why she thinks she's so badass when she's just got Pops taking care of her. I don't understand why Kyle Reese is this big, giant, hulking man when he's supposed to be this starved, like trying to survive on the daily. Like the real Kyle Reese should be.
And not only that, but the thing that bothered me about this one is in Terminator 1, Kyle Reese is pretty well in control the whole time. Even though he's fighting a Terminator with like no technology, no nothing. And this Kyle Reese, kind of the second he meets Sarah Connors and is like, wait, this isn't my future? Yeah. Never recovers from that.
Yeah.
Like he just kind of like loses, and like from then on, he's just this bumbling guy in a comedy movie where it's just like, what's happening, guys? And I'm just like, you are not the Kyle Reese we've been introduced to.
They bring him in as so physically masculine and buff and dominating, but then they make his character this bumbling idiot. Almost, it feels like it's in an attempt to make Sarah Connor look stronger and tougher and be that badass female lead that Sarah Connor was in the first two. And it fails. It totally fails because Pops is still the one saving the day all the time. And so now you just have these two good-looking people doing nothing but there for the ride.
Yeah.
Agreed. I wrote, he's literally turned into an info dumpster because he is garbage. That's it. That was my Kyle Reese breakdown.
I'm a little bit torn on this movie because in theory, the explanation... Because realistically, again, we mentioned it. The only reason they go back to 1970s is so you can have Arnold Schwarzenegger age so that when you get to 1997 or 2017 or whatever it is, he is legitimately old, right? Like it
has gray hair.
That.
Yeah. And I didn't mind that the skin actually ages. I was like, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I can get behind it enough.
I like that explanation. Except for it opens the door to, well, then why don't they just go back further and do this? And why don't they go back further and do this? And again, if you can set up, like if you can send anything back to any time, as long as you've got flesh around it, like you could go back to like the 1950s and just send everything you need to make a time machine there and set your whole new base up. You know what I mean? Like you could really fuck with the timeline as opposed to just, oh, we're going to kill Sarah Connor and hopefully that works.
Brian asked earlier, what was my biggest plot hole grievance? That's it. Skynet again, Genisys, whatever. John Connor, robot, fucking Terminator idiot, is the problem with this movie because he does not kill them. He just needs to kill them. He doesn't need to be like, come with me, we can be a family still. I'll just turn you into robot.
Yeah, what was that?
You're trying to eradicate human.
What was it? He literally hugs both of them. In the first few minutes when he meets them, he literally hugs both of them.
The whole movie.
He could have had the W right there. He could have had the W.
Out the window because of his character, because it's, oh, let's trick everybody into thinking I'm good. He doesn't change his mind. He's like, oh, I've got to save Genisys. I can't stop them. I'm just going to take away the bomb. None of that made any sense. His whole character is completely broken in this movie.
What he was trying to do is basically do what Matt Smith did to him, right? Like just give them the nano chips or whatever it was that made him and turn them into robots.
Right, but why?
But no, I'm getting there. But the point is, you don't this will sound bad. You don't need consent for that. Like as soon as he's hugging them, the robots take them over, and now they're more robot than man, and they go, "Oh shit, you're right. Let's do this." And that's the end of the movie.
They were trying to say that he was still John Connor, but he was John Connor with Skynet. And I don't care. Like Dan says, you just do it at that point, right?
But it still breaks Skynet, because Skynet's end goal is to eradicate humankind, and that absolutely changes in this movie.
Right. I think what they're trying to say is that it is no longer Skynet. It's Skynet / John Connor. And John Connor, he says even, he doesn't want to eradicate humanity. He wants to make a Skynet where humans can live with the robots by integrating all of them the way he was. And that's his point. But it's a dumb idea. The one thing I'm wondering is, were they going to pan out some of this plot in a sequel directly to this movie? Did they have a script ready that accounted for some of these egregious plot holes and made sense of it in any way, shape, or form? I really don't think so. Sure feels like they were winging it with this one.
I'm going to quote Will on this one and say a good movie should be able to stand on its own and not require a sequel to explain it.
Absolutely.
Could they have made a sequel that bounced off this one and made it better? Maybe. But if you need a sequel for this one to make any sense, no.
You're not doing it right.
I love when they have a sequel in mind and they put tons and tons of foreshadowing in the first installment that you don't know is foreshadowing. You don't even see it at all. But when the second film comes into play, it has all these points of contact, and you're like, oh, that's so cool. They were really thinking ahead with that. I didn't notice any of that in the first one. That makes it good. This one literally has, you don't get to know who sent me back in time until you watch the next movie. Oh, well, sorry, we don't get a next movie.
Yeah.
So here's the crazy thing. Most franchises are under the same production company or very close to. The Terminator movies, almost all of them have been different companies making these movies. And so this was the first time Paramount owned the rights to the franchise. And so this is their first attempt. And I know that they were planning a trilogy right out of the gate. So I assume there was at least plot outlines for the second and third movie. But this thing was a hot disaster, so nothing ever came of it. So I'm guessing the deleted files came from somewhere. It would have to have come again from the future of the future, because they would have had to know when everything else was going to happen. So that's the only way. So somebody down the line knew. But the beauty of this is that it set up the endless timeline possibilities, so you can just forget this installation ever happened and move on to a new timeline, I guess. It's so bad.
I hate that so much.
I know, it's so bad.
It really bothers me. Even again, I'll go with your movie if you stick with it, but no.
Well, I think the thing is okay, Terminator 1 and 2, again, the great movies, they had a nice closed loop. Yeah. But because they want to make this a franchise, they have to unravel that loop somewhere along the way. This just might have been the worst possible way to do it.
I don't know. If you can time travel to any time and you can take what you want, it just really bugs me. Why? Okay. Why can Arnold in 1984 build a time machine?
My goodness.
Better Terminator in 2017 with better technology can't?
No, I know. If he knew he was going to build everything, why wouldn't he bring the chips he needed to do it? It doesn't make any sense. John Connor is so horrible in this movie. I couldn't stand him.
So I think Arnold goes back in time, pre-programmed with the knowledge of how to build a time machine exactly.
100%.
But he does not have an extra chip except for the one that's in his head. He's only got that one. But the intention was they're going to shoot the other Terminator through the batteries and shut it down without damaging that chip and use that chip to complete their time machine. That was their whole plan. And that's why Schwarzenegger is shooting him with a shotgun rather than a rocket launcher, because they can't damage that chip. He has to just hold the Terminator in place for her to take that mile-long shot with the Barrett 50, which was just whatever. Don't derail me here. So they're trying to just shut it down without destroying it. That was the whole thing there. And I guess that kind of makes sense. Still, terrible execution on that plan. There's still 100 other ways you could get that chip out without damaging it and be better prepared for that situation. Yeah. Like, I don't know, stand 10 feet away from where the bubble's gonna come out with the gun ready to go, and when he just starts to open his eyes, shoot him through the chest. That's it. Yeah. Like anything.
I'll give you, that was actually a much better explanation than anything I was coming up with for why that opening scene is the way it is, so well done. Am I wrong, though? Is John Connor not kind of the entirety of Skynet once he gets taken over by the robot?
No, because there's still the guy who took him over.
Yeah, it's Skynet and John Connor now. It's a mix of the two, and that's why he doesn't want to kill those humans. That's why he wants to hug them and talk them into joining him in his nanobot suit or whatever.
But John Connor would know they would never go for that.
Exactly.
If it's still John Connor in there, he knows they'd never go for that.
It's an absolute fallacy. Any direction you try to look at it, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Is when they take down Skynet in the beginning of the movie and the robots fall from the sky.
Except for the robot that transforms him into a robot.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, was that another red herring like we got in Salvation with the sound clips?
I think that was a red herring. I think all of Skynet was put into that nanotech in order to get a hold of John. And so when they blew the Skynet core, it didn't really matter because Skynet was no longer home.
But didn't they also talk about this new guy, whatever his name is, that turned John Connor, as being able to hop alternate timelines as well? Didn't they say that at some point? Because that's how they know to build. Like, you guys watched the post-credit scene, right? Where there's another time machine underneath the rubble, underneath the building they blew up. And the freaking hologram of this guy is there.
Oh, I missed that entirely. I did not anticipate this movie having a end credit.
I didn't know that.
Does anybody watch these movies but me? Like, come on.
No,
people.
And see, that's the thing. When I host the watch party, I'm usually like itching to bounce out of here and go put my kids to bed. And so I always wait for like the primary credits to roll through, and then I'm like, I'm out of here. So I always miss those post-credit takes. So I'll have to research next time I host and make sure I know if there's going to be one coming.
Yeah. So it all it really does is say that, hey, again, it's all inevitable. It's going to happen again. But I thought the whole thing was this Genisys guy was like leaping into different timelines to get all kinds of different things going. Some that they've won, some that they've lost, but for some reason they want to win this one. It still doesn't make any sense to me. But that's why this guy was like so uber powerful and could turn into nanobot peoples. I don't know.
Damn it. And I hated this movie so much, I only rented it. And I'm not going to pay money to go back and watch that.
I'm sure you could YouTube. It's literally 5 seconds. It's 5 seconds of the time machine thing glowing, and then you see the hologram of the guy pull up. It's literally, that's it. You didn't miss it.
I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't think it's going to tie into the next movie. I've never seen the next movie, but I don't think it's going to tie into it. So I think you're fine.
Here's one of my favorite things in the movie. Bringing it back to the positive. Also, I hate it. J.K. Simmons, baby.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Come on.
Easily the highlight in every movie he's in.
Amazing. No purpose.
He was fantastic in this.
But he was great. You know, he really lifts the scenes that he was a part of.
Well, he was necessary.
It's no purpose, but it's a great point. Like, it's a great character just to be in this world.
I agree.
He was necessary to get them out of being arrested the second time or something.
Because Arnie couldn't just blow everything away.
Which they didn't even need to be arrested any of the times, really. Like, this movie is such a mess. Hey,
he was so good, though.
What did you guys think of the T-1000 this time around, who had no infiltration scenes whatsoever, was just his old liquid metal self?
Dan, what do you think? T-1000, Asian? Still in a cop uniform for some reason?
Well, I mean, it is Terminator 2, right? Like he is that guy. So
he is that guy. He would have appeared next to the cop, would have been the first person he came in contact with. So that does make sense to still be in the cop uniform. However, totally different actor playing the role, not even trying to make it look similar.
Right.
So,
they changed the timeline.
Yeah.
They changed the timeline so a different cop showed up first.
In theory.
Right.
I guess. Yeah.
Whatever. Who cares?
Yeah. That's minor to me.
It was one of those things where, like, I wish Arnold hadn't shot a piece of him off of the car, because that made sense for why he was able to know exactly where they were. But somehow, even after he shot that off, and a guy takes 20 minutes to catch up to them, he still finds them, no problem whatsoever. And like, they seem to be able to find the heroes at any point in this movie. There's no tracking them down. There's no investigation. There's no looking into them. They're just like, I inherently know where you are at all times.
There's no
and that was just something that's just like, okay, sure. But like, they explained it. They put him on the car. I'm like, oh, cool. He's gonna know where they are at all times.
And then ruined it. I know, for no reason. Like one cool idea, and you just literally shot it off the screen.
I liked the T-1000 for all the CGI tricks they were showing off. Him coming out of the mirror. I liked him being melted in the acid bath. I liked all of those scenes. I think it looked really good and was fun to watch that.
I did like the acid bath.
Yeah.
I have a question, though. Assuming this is the same or very similar T-1000 to Robert Patrick, I believe it is, from Terminator 2, they specify that he can't make complex machines. That's why he's using blades. He can't make guns. He can't make robots. He can't turn into a car.
He can make a spear and throw it.
How did this guy fix a T-1000 or a T-800?
He drips it into his eye and turns them right back
on. It was like, that's a pretty complex machine. How'd you pull that one off?
Some would say the most complex machine.
Yeah, that was...
The spear was cool. I'll give you the spear.
Again, it made for cool fight sequences. It made for interesting things that were fun to watch in that moment. You know, it made this duality where you've got two bad guys and two good guys dealing with those situations and stuff. Well, not really Kyle Reese dealing with anything, more just kind of rolling away from it, trying not to get squashed. But a fun character to watch. Enjoyed it thoroughly as far as the visuals and those little fight sequences. But really, I was getting tired of watching Arnold do everything and him talking about, I'm old, not obsolete or whatever. And he's kicking the crap out of everybody every time. Like, he's taking the W everywhere he goes, and then comes back with a shiny new pair of pants in his liquid metal form at the end. And I was just like, I really didn't feel like this was earned at all. Like, it just felt like they were just showing off Arnold again, this film.
It is the first film Arnie survives.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of good it does them, because not going to matter after the next one.
Well, I don't know. I like that Arnie's back. I'll give you that. I think Arnie did fine, aside from giving horrible dialogue and forced smiles maybe 3 too many times. But I think he still carries the character well. You know, it's in the step, and he should. He played it for so many times. I think he did better in this one than Terminator 3 as the Terminator.
Yeah, I would say T3 was his worst appearance as the Terminator. I liked him best in Terminator 2. I thought he was equivalent to Terminator 1 in this one, and I wasn't a big fan of 1. It just, I don't know. I was just so tired of seeing Arnold, to tell you the truth. I would have rather they just send back a different freaking looking Terminator. I don't care. Send somebody else.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously that's what most people, I think, that are fans, like diehard fans like you, I would say, would think that. But a lot of people are like, I just want to see Arnie, because it makes the movie that much more watchable, right, Dan? I remember the question.
I do like Arnold, and again, I like the explanation for why he's in this movie better than the explanation for why he's in Terminator 3.
What's the explanation for being in this movie?
They sent him back because, of course, they sent him back to the past, and he just didn't die, so he just keeps living in our timeline. So he just keeps going.
Why did they send Arnold's skin back to get Sarah Connor as a little girl? As a little girl, she'd never seen him. They could send any Terminator they want,
right?
And that would have been fine. Why Arnold?
So you're right. It could have been literally anybody. But if you're in 2029 and you're sending back a robot to kill, all they did was choose a different date, right? They just choose an earlier date to try and kill Sarah Connor. So it doesn't hurt my brain to be like, oh, we chose the same robot. But in Terminator 3, if I remember correctly, they're like, oh, we're going to purposefully choose this one so it can get close to John Connor, and then your wife is going to take it over, and she's going to send it back to the past.
Legit explanation. That one kind of made sense the way they described it. This one, I don't know why they decided to choose Arnold, other than because fans wanted to see Arnold in the film.
I'm under the assumption that whoever sent him back to 1984 in Terminator 1 is the exact same people and timeline that sent him back to 1976. So he's just the next robot in line to do whatever it is they're trying to do. It's kind of the headcanon I was going with.
Okay, so you're saying that this Arnold was supposed to have been the same Arnold from T2. That's the same robot.
T1.
Yeah.
Well, no.
T2.
T1 was the robot who kicked Arnold's ass in the beginning of this, who was supposed to be surprised by Arnold, who came out naked, and you know.
Yeah, it would have been the T2.
No,
Arnold,
yeah, you're right. Okay.
The 850 model, but they're like, oh, we see on the computer hacking we're doing here, they chose 76 instead of 84. Let's send this Arnold back to 76 to save her.
So yeah, I think it was, if, and we just don't know because we didn't get the sequel to this film that explains it, if it was the same people who sent Arnold back in Terminator 2, instead of sending him back to save a young John Connor at age 10, for whatever reason, they sent him back all the way to 74 to save a young Sarah Connor. It's the same robot that way. They just chose a different time to send him back to. And Arnold never exists. Terminator 2 never exists in this timeline, right? We have a T-1000, and the T-1000 was also sent back way earlier, right? But Schwarzenegger arrives and rescues the kid. Okay, so that makes sense then. So it's the Terminator from T2 and the T-1000 from T2, both being sent way further back. But we don't know why this time they covered their tracks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
So that makes a little bit more sense. But why does it require an hour-long podcast of 3 people who are fans of the franchise to figure that shit out?
Fans.
It's poorly written. Very poorly written.
Well, we'll see where it lands on the rating after this one.
I think this movie suffers from poor writing, first and foremost. And I actually didn't love the direction of this movie either. I felt they took a lot of very painstakingly specific notes to refilm the shots of the first 2 movies. You know, naked Terminator coming in, going to meet the punks on the street. All of that looked really close to the original. And I was like, all this does, because that's the best shot parts of this movie. Everything else kind of felt like a TV movie in its vibe and filming, which maybe because the director mostly filmed TV. And I think it's the first all digital filmed movie, but everything else felt lacking direction in the same way. And it just made me want to watch the first 2 movies again because they're very well directed. And this was like, oh, we're copying it until we're not. And now you don't care.
I agree with that. I have direction way down in the points on my list of scoring here. I also agree that the direction, the plot, the dialogue really needed some work here. I did think that the special effects were great. And those were kind of the fun parts, just to being it was my second time and I knew this was a disaster from the start. I was just like, I'm just going to watch this and enjoy it for the spectacle that it is.
Right.
And again, watch party, packed house, lots of us in there just popping off shots at this film, having a great time. So lots of positivity in the room I was in. So that too helped. But yeah.
If you like what we do and you want to help support us, consider joining our Patreon. There's a link down below. Thank you to our producers, as well as our executive producer, Dino. And a huge shout out to our writers, Miss Hillary, Real Bubba Hotep, and Windstorm114. Thank you all very, very much. I believe this week we're going to be watching Donnie Darko and reviewing that next week for the Patreon pick. Thank you all so much.
So like I said, low scores across the board for many of my categories for this film. The high point was the effects, which were kind of just people showing off. Lots of neat little tricks as robots did fun things that was cool to see. The one big practical effect was the bus scene, quite the spectacle, and probably one of the better scenes in my opinion. But that's because I'm a sucker for practical effects over special effects. So I was able to turn my brain off, not even try to keep up with this absolutely convoluted Swiss cheese plot line, and just enjoy the scenery because we had lots of things. It was basically every situation of a Terminator fighting another Terminator or a human. What would look cool? They crammed it into this movie somehow. And so those were interesting and kind of fun. You can enjoy this film if you are a fan of the franchise. Just know that you are getting into something that should never have been and hopefully will get erased in the next installment. I gave this movie a 58. It is barely passing for a film. If you are not a fan of this franchise, just don't bother.
I'd seen this movie before. I'd completely forgotten everything about it. So this viewing was essentially a fresh watch. I spent the first half of this movie or so writing notes about all the things that didn't make any sense to me that were just gigantic plot holes. And to the movie's credit, it did actually answer most of those by the end of the film. Not necessarily in a way that I was happy with, but at absolute least in a way where I was like, okay, they addressed it. At least they saw the issue there and they went for it. Brian actually helped me with a few more of the issues I had with the film during this review. And like, I think we mentioned this about Terminator 3, like it's kind of frustratingly watchable. Like, I don't really like a lot of the performances. I don't really like some of the fight scenes. Some of the fight scenes seem pointlessly pointless. Just there's no reason for them to be there. But I can't say that I didn't have a bit of fun watching this movie. I completely agree with Brian, though. Like, if you're not a fan of this franchise, this is definitely not the one that's going to change your mind. I like, in theory, things they were trying to do with the storyline. I just didn't like any of the execution of how it came about. And the villain's main plot made no sense to me whatsoever. And he, like, could have and should have won the second he came back to the present. I think it was the present. It might have been. I don't know. The point is, I watched the movie like 2 nights ago, and I'm already starting to forget certain things. That's essentially the root rating I can give this. Is just like, it is completely forgettable. Mildly fun while you're watching it. Nothing to think about after the fact. This is a 43 for me. This is definitely not a pass.
This is like pinnacle bad Hollywood popcorn movies that are squeezing every ounce of green out of their hardcore audiences that they know will show up to watch this garbage. What haven't I said? The special effects were okay, but still feel weightless overall. They didn't feel real. Practical effects still win the day for me. The story was a mess. The characters were dismal in this movie. The direction was flat. I said already, the best parts of this movie were when they copied other movies, better movies, and they just wanted me. It just wanted me. I made me feel like watching those other movies, because why am I watching this? It's just telling me not to watch it. Every frickin' scene. 37 out of 100. This was not fun, and it was about 2 hours too long.
How long was this? Was it 2 hours?
2 hours.
Just over, I think, yeah.
And with that, we see Terminator come in at a 68, dropping 6 points, I think, from last week. Coming in with a 69 from me, a 73 from Brian, and a 64 from Will. We got one more movie in this franchise. 2 of us have never seen it. Do you think there's any chance we can bring this back up to about a 70, or do you think this is just going to continue its plummet to the very bottom of the list?
Well, being the only person who's seen Dark Fate, and I think that there is a lot to like in Dark Fate, and I'm hoping that it will substitute as close enough to a reboot to address so many of the fallacies in the franchise so far. I do think it's going to come back up a little bit. I don't know how far it's going to come back up. Not likely much though.
I mean, you know, as always, I'm sad to see, you know, the two first movies were so good and then it plummets because of choices. But looking where it's standing now, I'm not mad about it. You know, I think Jurassic Park overall, I think, is probably still better than Terminator's overall. So if it doesn't go anywhere from here, I'd be okay with the placement.
I think Jurassic Park 1 is significantly better for me than anything Terminator gives us. But Terminator gives us, I'm going to say 2.5 really good movies, and Jurassic Park gives us 1 good movie. So, like, But you have to take that over, like, 2.5 over 6 movies versus 1 over 3. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
Well, Green Tuckian
I definitely think it's better than it.
Green Tuckian in chat says that we will have to revisit this franchise again down the road as James Cameron has signed on for Terminator 7. No Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What?
That's the best. Bringing James Cameron back and not Arnold Schwarzenegger might be the best decision I've heard about that film, but I don't know if it's going to make me excited.
Wasn't Dark Fate James Cameron, though? He produced it, I'm pretty sure.
I'm not sure.
Directing it, though. I could be wrong on that.
No, he didn't direct, but I'm pretty sure he was heavily involved in the script and producing the movie. I'm pretty sure that's what I've heard. Maybe I'll have to do more research.
He definitely was involved in it for some reason. I think that's why they got Linda Hamilton back. But anyways, that's a discussion for 2 weeks from now. All right, well, that's our rating of Terminator Genisys, but what's yours? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. We record this every Thursday night over at twitch.tv/The Show. So if you want to head over there and hang out with us live, you can do that by hitting the follow button. Or if you made it this far in the video, you probably enjoyed it. Make sure you hit like and subscribe so that we see you in the next one.